Are Nintendo Switch owners and Nintendo fan communities becoming too toxic? Now, when Britney Spears made her hit song back in the early 2000s, Toxic, I don't think she realized what a big buzzword this would become, not only in video game fandom, but in just any fandom whatsoever. You've seen so many instances recently pop up of toxic people and toxic communities and whatnot, but in this video, I basically want to hone in on the Nintendo communities that have been accused of being toxic, and Nintendo Switch owners that are accused of being toxic, because obviously that is something that's been happening more and more recently, with various events happening with first-party Nintendo games on the Nintendo Switch. So really all of this started to happen basically in 2019, and really just two various communities, the Pokemon community and the Smash Brothers community. Now, if you know anything about me, you would know that I'm a very casual person in both of these communities. I'm basically on the outside looking in at what is happening with these things, so I'm able to look at things a little bit differently than maybe somebody who's heavily invested in these communities would be able to, or someone who doesn't care whatsoever about these communities would be invested too. Now, of course, when Pokemon Sword and Shield was first unveiled, there was some split people on the reveal of the game. Some people were a bit upset by the graphics of the game. Some people did not like the areas that you were going into. Some people did not like that the National Pokedex was removed and that you would not be able to transfer all of your Pokemon from the various other games in the Pokemon franchise like you had been able to do previously. So that was a big deal to a lot of people, and a very vocal minority did speak out and probably take things too far within the Pokemon community. But of course, when Pokemon Sword and Shield finally released, it has been breaking sales records for Pokemon games. It is one of the fastest selling Nintendo Switch games of all time, and will probably be the top selling Nintendo Switch game of all time when it is said and done, at least in the year of 2020. So the general consensus on Pokemon Sword and Shield was that people were still interested in the game, even though they might not have agreed with everything in the game. Now, once again, back earlier this month in January, we saw a Pokemon Nintendo Direct where we learned that Pokemon Sword and Shield would be getting expansion passes. And what would these expansion passes be doing? Basically, you will now be able to get up to 200 more Pokemon from the Galar region in Pokemon Sword and Shield via these expansion passes. There is a pass for Pokemon Sword, there is a pass for Pokemon Shield, each containing different Pokemon. Now, yes, you can trade between your copies of Pokemon with your friends to get these Pokemon without having to get the expansion pass, but still, it remains that they are now charging for more Pokemon to be included in this game, because really somebody has to buy it in order to be able to trade for these things. And once again, there was a lot of split in the community. Some people were happy that more Pokemon were being added. Some people felt like maybe it was a bit too soon to be talking about DLC. Was this content cut from the original game? Nobody really truly knows, but all you know is that there is more Pokemon coming, and the DLC starts in June of 2020 if you want to get more Pokemon. And of course, the most recent situation involves Smash Brothers, another big community within Nintendo fan bases. Of course, the final Smash Brothers character for DLC Pack 1 was unveiled during this Smash Brothers Direct that happened earlier this week, and there was lots of rumors, lots of speculation on who this character was going to be. I thought it was going to be Dante from Devil May Cry. I thought that was pretty much a lock thing. It matched up with the timeline of events, and then of course Sakurai came out and said, no, it is not Dante, but it is another sword-based character. It's Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. And once again, you saw sort of a split in Nintendo community. Some people were happy about this, some people were upset by this, but what ended up happening on all of these situations, what ended up happening on all of these things is what I really want to focus in on this video, because all of a sudden it seems like the train of thought is if you don't like what you're being presented, that you are being a toxic individual, that you should appreciate no matter what is being given to you, you should appreciate this. And then there's individuals on the other side of the coin who are just hell-bent on destroying everything and making it their own sort of thing. And it's just so baffling to me how black and white people want to make this situation, when in reality you should be sort of in the gray area when it comes to this. Many people took to Twitter and said things like, oh, well, Sakurai put his heart and soul into this game, and you have to appreciate that. Look how happy he was when talking about Byleth. You should be happy with Byleth. And I think that train of thought is just ridiculous. Many people felt that the Smash Brothers Direct got downvoted simply because people were being toxic, because it wasn't the character that they necessarily wanted. It wasn't the character that they thought it was going to be. But once again, that's making a black and white situation when really there's a lot of gray in there. I personally was a bit disappointed that Byleth was the character announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as the final DLC one-pack character, not necessarily because it was Byleth himself. I think if Byleth was talked about as a maybe first or second character, it would have gone over a bit better. And then you have someone like Banjo-Kazooie or Terry as your final reveal character, people would have been a bit happier with that. You also have to remember there's a ton of Fire Emblem representation already in Smash Brothers, and considering that Smash Brothers is a fighting franchise that is pretty much encompassing all of the history of video games, at least that's what it sets out to sort of do, you would think there are so many characters from so many different franchises that would be a bit more impactful than someone like yet another Fire Emblem character. So all because you dislike the Smash Brothers Direct, I don't think makes you a bad individual at all. All because you gave a thumbs down to the video doesn't make you a toxic individual. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, if you thumbs down the video, that's not a good thing. These little verified checkmark Twitter accounts got on their high horse and said things like, oh, you know, you should just be appreciative that we're getting this character. Sakurai put his heart and soul into it. And that's just sort of a weird mindset to me, because those will be the same individuals come, you know, a few months from now when a new Call of Duty is coming out or a new Madden is coming out, that will be like, oh, well, look at this. This is so dumb. You know, everyone, all these companies have this just consume and take it on the chin and then move about it to the next iteration of the franchise. Yet they will sit there and say things like that. It's just so ridiculous to me. The problem with all this is I don't think Smash Brothers fans or Pokemon fans are necessarily toxic. I think there's good people in these communities, and then there's a small vocal minority of people who just say things just to say things, maybe just to get a reaction because of the anonymity of the internet. When you look at things like buzzwords like toxic, like we're talking about in this video, toxic is a very big buzzword right now, and a lot of these journalists and a lot of these website publications and YouTubers will take things, isolated incidences from these communities, and try to make a bigger thing out of it because everyone loves a little bit of controversy. I'm sure that I've been guilty of that too, but I know recently there was that whole story that was floating around about Masuda from the Pokemon company saying, hey, don't bother me during my birthday about Pokemon related stuff. It ended up being sort of a mistranslation, but all of these websites and YouTubers ended up running with this story because it's a controversial story. It is a polarizing sort of story. I think one of the main things you have to take into account from these fan communities of anything is that it's not bad to be outspoken about things that you dislike, but there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. Things like review bombing on Metacritic. I will always say that review bombing on Metacritic is foolish. It is childish. It is ridiculous because 9 times out of 10, these people that are review bombing this game are simply just review bombing it to sort of fit in with the crowd because they were so upset about something. They may not even played the game. They're just talking about the game because they don't want to play the game because something was missing from it. But there's definitely respectable ways to go about things. But I really think the overly positive mindset can be just as damaging and toxic as the overly negative mindset is, because what ends up happening is you're giving people props, you're giving these companies props just for simply making something. No developer goes out there to make a bad video game. No developer says, I want to make an absolutely terrible video game that nobody's going to like. I'm not going to put my heart and soul into this. It's just going to be what it is, except for maybe a game like Meme Run on the Nintendo Wii U eShop, which I think was designed with being just as bad as humanly possible and not really hoping to get positive publicity but negative publicity to the point of where people are interested in the product. But 9.9 times out of 10 everyone puts their heart and soul into a game, but all because they put their heart and soul into a game does not mean that the final product is going to be good. You could put your heart and soul into music, movies, books. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like what they have done, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be a quality product. Look at things like Troll and I on the Nintendo Switch, WWE 2K18. I'm sure when 2K subsidized WWE 2K18, they did not say, oh, make a terrible version of this game that Nintendo Switch owners won't like, and then that way we won't ever have to put another WWE game on the Nintendo Switch. No, it's just unfortunately things in game development end up happening. There are things like timelines, there are things like deadlines that people have to meet, and sometimes that is indicative of the final product. But all because a product is released doesn't mean that you have to love it. But all because a product is released doesn't mean that you have to to hate it either. Really, what it all boils down to for me is there is a vocal minority of very toxic individuals in every fandom, and these people will take to their things like Twitter, they'll take to their YouTube channels or whatever, and try to get on their high horse and say, this is the right way, this is my opinion on it. And people will agree with them and people will disagree with them. But at the end of the day, we have to remember one thing. It is just an individual's perception of a situation. It is just one individual's mindset. And you can't say that one individual is going to ruin a whole fandom or a whole community just because they are overly negative or overly positive. I don't care if you have 1 million YouTube subscribers or 1 YouTube subscriber. I don't care if you have 1 million Twitter followers and 18 check marks or 1 Twitter follower and no check marks. At the end of the day, you are allowed to have your opinion, and all because it might be an opinion that might not be popular, or because it's an opinion that might go against the grain a little bit, doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong. But you can be respectful with your opinion. Doing things like harassing game developers, negatively review bombing things like Metacritic, those are not positive things. Nothing is going to change from that. But being respectful, arguing your points, and saying your points of why you are not happy with this in a respectful and reasonable manner will probably get you further and will probably get more steam built up than just being an overly toxic person, whether that is overly toxic in a positive way or overly toxic in a negative way. And I think that's what people really need to realize. Terms like influencers absolutely drive me insane on the internet, because at the end of the day, you are simply just one person on the internet with an opinion. Now, your opinion can't be right, your opinion can't be wrong. It is simply your thoughts on the thing. It is your opinion. It is simply available to you. If somebody agrees with your opinion, great. If somebody disagrees with your opinion, great. At the end of the day, everyone is just one individual, and I hate seeing people in overly toxic communities, whether it's positive toxicity or negative toxicity, just get on their high horse and try to say this is the be all end all thing. If you are not happy with Byleth and Smash Brothers, that is cool with me. If you are happy with Byleth and Smash Brothers, that is cool with me too. At the end of the day, the Nintendo community is no different than any other community out there when it comes to fandoms and things like that. Just be respectful when you're giving your points, and I think everyone will be accepting of that. And if they're not accepting of that, well, it's just your opinion at the end of the day. Don't let it sway how you feel. So yeah, this video kind of went a bit all over the place, but I really wanted to make this video just because of all the things that have been happening in various Nintendo communities and various fandoms in general, with the word toxic being thrown around, because people want to make this a black and white issue when I think it's clearly a gray issue. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of all this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? At the end of the day, it's just my opinion, so I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say on this matter. And as always, thank you guys for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm hoping this video sounds a little bit better than previous videos. I got a new mic rig that you can't really see, but it's here, so I'm hoping that it sounds a bit better. Make sure you guys check out the pinned comment in the comment section down below if you want to pick up the 32X book, if you want to pick up some RGT merch. Follow me on various forms of social media. Sorry, I do not have a check mark on Twitter, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later. Wait! Before we go, I want to give a very big shout out to my smallest fan out there, Baby Riker, who was just released from the NICU, which is the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit of hospitals. I want to give a big shout out to his father as well. Thank you for watching the channel and supporting the channel. I hope Baby Riker is doing much better now, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video and all of the content. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you for reaching out to me and letting me know about Baby Riker. I hope he's doing better.